Welcome, everyone, to episode 2.
Yes. Welcome to our Minotaur episode.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we'll be talking about the Minotaur. There are a couple variations of the Minotaur. We'll be focusing on the one found in the Monster Manual. So the one that DM would likely be playing. If you're looking for a player episode of how to play a Minotaur in terms of its race, that will be coming up in a future episode. But we will talk a little bit about it today, but minorly. But the main focus will be on the monster.
All right, yes. So are we going to start with the basics of the Minotaur?
Yeah, why don't we get into the basics?
All right, so the basics of the Minotaur. Minotaurs are jacked. I'm pretty sure that's a no-brainer. They are massive.
Okay, if you've never seen one, though, what would you describe
All right, so a Minotaur is about it's about 7 to 8 feet tall. It has the hooves and the legs of a bull. So it kind of has like satyr type of legs, fur. Well, actually, it's all covered in fur. It has a man or woman's body. We'll get into that later. But it has a humanoid body, normally of a human, and its head is of a bull with blazing eyes and a foot-long horns. They can be curved or they can be straight. It kind of depends on the Minotaur. But yeah, basically, that is how a Minotaur normally looks. Minotaurs can actually have many different types of coats of fur, actually, which is pretty cool. So some can have, rare ones have red, some have brown, the rarest have black, and some have dirty blonde. But the most interesting trait of the Minotaur, besides the bull features, is that they can have raging red eyes when they get angry.
Okay.
Which is that's
to match the blood stained on their fur.
Yeah. So we'll get into why they have the red rage in their eyes.
Yeah, so when I'd say if you're picturing a Minotaur, just take a bull and imagine a person that has all the attributes and ferocity and just pure strength and power of a bull, and put that into a person. Just imagine what that would look like.
Yeah,
and you get a Minotaur.
Not fun. And especially if you're stuck in a hallway, not fun at all.
No, not fun at all.
Not fun at all.
If it's you and a Minotaur, you don't want to be...
probably the Minotaur.
You don't want a Minotaur in your way.
Yeah, no, he'll probably squash you.
Yeah, but just extra attributes. So, they got long horns. They don't have to be long, but, like a classic Minotaur, you're picturing, like, longhorn horns. They're, the animal longhorn.
Oh,
those horns, and they're that name for a reason. Very big horns. They're natural weapons.
Yeah, actually, we'll get into their horns, but like there is like the longhorn type, and then there's a different type which are curved horns, which are like of a normal bull.
Okay.
But they're still Minotaurs, so they're still the same, but it's just how the longer the horn normally means the more monster the Minotaur is. We'll get into that later, but yeah. So basically, they have long horns or curved horns.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool.
And they got hooves for stomping and sometimes a tail, not always a tail.
Yeah. They have humanoid hands, so they can hold things like a normal person can. Yeah. They normally wield...
They got those thick fingers, though.
Yeah, they're very muscular, like 4 Arnolds and one thing. Yeah, very, very muscular creatures. So do you want to get into the Minotaur stats?
Well, let's just give them a general overview of their personality and like how they act. So I would say they are in general violent, merciless hunters that actually prefer human flesh. Not just like it, they prefer human flesh, and in general consider themselves like these superior creatures and consider other races to be these lesser creatures that are more like cattle.
So basically what most people think like of of hybrids, like they would think, is the Minotaur like an omnivore? No, they are straight carnivores, which is pretty uncommon for this hybrid. But they really like human flesh. One of the other things, they're actually, for the personality, they can be pretty social. They can have like Minotaur tribes.
Sounds pretty...
As like the monster itself too in the labyrinths, because they're giant.
I would actually disagree with that, but we can talk about that. That's less general and more specific, I'd say. So why don't we wait until we get the personality section for that? Okay. I'm sure they can be social, but that's not their general status. We'll talk about it. Let's get into stats for now.
All right. We'll get into stats. Basically, their AC is 14. So, that's an okay AC. That's more than most animals, though.
It's natural armor.
Yeah, it's natural armor.
If they were to wear armor, you could get them pretty high.
Could be definitely higher, yeah. But the normal AC of a human is like is 10, and the normal AC of like a cow is 11. So, they got the better of the two. Their hit points averagely can be 76, or you can roll 90 10s and add 30. So they have a potential, their max can be over 120.
Okay.
Is pretty scary. But their average is tough. 76, so that's their average.
That's still plenty tough.
Still plenty tough, yes. Their strength is a +4. That's the same as a warhorse. So they can pick up war horses and throw them if they want to. So they got like horse strength. Their dexterity is a +0. So normal dexterity, they're not dexters, they're not dodging, they just their strength, they just steamroll. Their constitution is a +3, which is actually really good. So like they're actually pretty good against diseases and poisons. Because they're beefy, they got a lot of health. They're warriors. Their intelligence are not that good.
It's terrible.
In the monster manual, it's 4 or -2, which is literally the brains of I think it's an ape or like a smart dog.
Is it 4? I thought it was 6.
Yeah, 6 might be ape. So 4 is like a dolphin or like a dog.
Well, they're dumb.
Yeah, no, they're really
but to note it, but they are wise, so they're actually pretty, which is interesting. They're low intelligence,
but very high wisdom,
and we'll get into kind of what the ramifications of that is, in terms of how they behave. But it does kind of make sense once we get into it.
Right. Yeah. So their wisdom is another +3, which is actually, I found that very surprising. That they have it probably tends to their backgrounds, like where they come from.
Yeah.
But their charisma is a -1 or 9, which makes sense.
Kind of basic.
Their Minotaurs is actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
No, not terrible
for a Minotaur, but they're not the most charismatic.
They have the capability of being a person, right? Of acting like a person. They just have these inner primal drives that they're dealing with, and also they're not exactly the most popular. So they're not. We'll talk about their societies and stuff, but they don't mingle too much, so their charisma's low.
Right.
Yeah. So in general, they're high strength, high constitution, high wisdom. And other than that's kind of the thing. So they're these tanks that will beat you up.
So they're supposed to basically just last and deal damage. That's kind of like their things.
Yeah. Their speed is 40, so they'll run you down.
They'll actually outrun normal horses too.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty scary. So.
Yeah, and they're not shy about it either. They'll just run up to you and take you. They only speak Abyssal, and this has to do with their demonic origin. Yeah, so Abyssal is that is hell and the abyss, given its name. So the abyss is where demons come from. So we'll get into their origins later, but yes, they can really only speak Abyssal. Sometimes they can speak Undercommon, which is not very good common. Right. Some of the stuff that they don't tell you in the the monster manual. Sorry. Right. So, but yeah, they're personally most of the time they can speak Undercommon too, which is the monster manual kind of doesn't do everything. But yeah, so mostly they speak Abyssal though. So. Right. Okay, so in terms of their abilities in combat and otherwise, they normally wield a great axe, so it's about 17 damage there. And then they have a gore attack, which is typical of animals and stuff. Yeah, so the bull, his horns. Yes. Mm-hmm. So and they can use these together. So the gore attack does 13, great axe does 17 on average. They have 3 kind of special attributes. The first one is charge, which makes sense. They are a bull man, and so this is if they run 10 feet in a straight line and hit something, they'll do damage, which is equal to their gore attack. Don't they do extra damage too? They'll do their gore attack and then plus additional 9 damage on average. That's lethal. And then you have the recipient of that charge has to do a DC 14 strength save, or be pushed up to 10 feet and knocked prone.
So basically you go flying.
Yeah, you go flying.
He charges you.
And then they also have the reckless feat,
which is like a barbarian
feat. And so on their first attack they have advantage, but for the rest of the turn, anything that attacks them has disadvantage. And that's pretty common for a Minotaur to do, but we'll talk about how they use that.
Reckless is when they get advantage.
Yeah.
What they're hitting, but everyone else gets advantage on them.
Oh, did I? Oh,
yeah,
right. I said disadvantage. I said disadvantage.
Just want to make sure everyone gets advantage on the Minotaur when they attack.
They get disadvantage on their defense. I guess that could be said.
Well, it's easier for them to hit him because he's being a reckless idiot. So
which makes sense.
Yeah,
and then they get to really seal the whole Minotaur theme here. They have a feat called Labyrinthine Recall, which it really gets into how you use Minotaurs, and it's less a combat move and more of like just a gameplay just feature. And it is that they can recall any path they've ever traveled perfectly. And they also know the best and quickest path to wherever they want to be, which is probably their prey.
Yeah, no, they are like godlike trackers.
Yeah,
like they will. Yeah, no, they
got major.
They also
awareness.
Have dark vision, 60 feet.
Yep.
So you don't need light. So if you don't have dark vision and you don't have torches, you're kind of screwed.
And a +6 to perception. So they're all about seeing you.
Yeah, no, they can actually. We'll explain why they're really good with perception too.
Okay.
Like I'm pretty sure their passive perception is 17. That's their passive perception. So you have to get a 17.
Well, I think it should be 16. 10 plus 6.
I got +6 or +7 perception.
Maybe. Oh, okay.
You probably use
both are pretty good.
Yeah.
So all of that together makes them a challenge rating 3, which is a pretty good challenge rating.
Yeah, so that means it takes 4 level 3 characters to normally kill one. Like that's an equal fight. But challenge rating is kind of bogus sometimes.
Yeah, because it's only
it's very hard.
The mechanics of just whoever has the most turns basically will win, whatever that's called.
Yeah, I forget what that's called. But basically the Minotaur would normally be used for low level heroes.
Yeah. If you have higher level heroes, bring in 2 Minotaurs or 3 Minotaurs, and all of a sudden they're like these big foes, right? That higher level characters can fight. Yeah, no,
they're actually really good. Like they're probably like the top just like not like minions, but they're like if you're a high level, just put in like 10 Minotaurs. Like that's gonna be hard.
That would be really hard.
That would be really hard, but that's for like level 15, 20 godlike heroes though. But I mean that would still be very hard though.
So I mean any level character could fight a Minotaur and have a fight on their hands.
That is true. Yeah. No, Minotaurs are tough.
All right, so that was a lot of stats, but let's get into how to actually use these stats.